Hey, this is Brooks with Character Design Forge. I'll have some time-lapse playing for you of some recent work that I've been doing for you to enjoy while we talk about this week's subject. So I saw someone say something a few weeks ago that really struck me, and I won't put them on blast. It wasn't under a comment under one of my videos or anything like that, but the gist of it was that they thought themselves a character designer despite not being an artist or knowing how to draw. Which is one of the oddest things I've seen someone say in a while. But you shouldn't feel bad if you feel the same way, and I want to talk about why in 3 parts. This first aspect is almost kind of a throwaway one, but it's the value of that title and having that title apply to yourself. So in this example, calling yourself a character designer despite not really being one, or figuring out a way for that title to apply to you so that it could fit on a profile or a business card or something. I mean, personally, I can count on no fingers the amount of times that I've walked around a party or something and said, I'm a character designer. That's not something I even bring up at all in real life, because I cannot overemphasize to you how much no one cares what I do. And I do have to say that for most working artists, I think I can venture to guess that it's doing the work that's more valuable to them than the prestige of a title. Most people probably don't even know what an art director is, right? And so unless there's some kind of award that you're trying to achieve, there's not really any value in saying, hey, guess what? I'm this, right? It's not a brain surgeon, which requires a lot of mental prestige and a lot of schooling, right? It's not someone who's really well paid necessarily. It's sort of a trade role, right? And so try and think of if you know an electrician or a carpenter, and they probably talk about what they do a lot, because that's sort of the nature of construction workers. But the last time you've heard someone say, yes, I'm an electrician, I'm very, very important, that probably stems from their personality and not the trade itself. In this example of someone who claimed to be a character designer despite not knowing how to draw, their reasoning was that they came up with the ideas for characters, they had a really good mind for it, but then they fed those ideas to someone else who would execute on them. And that kind of tramples on the next few points, but in that situation, if you find yourself in that situation where you're coming up with the ideas but then are giving them to someone else, that makes you a client. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the point. That's how I make my living as a freelance character designer, is either taking my own ideas or someone else's ideas and turning them into fully realized characters. But that doesn't mean my clients are character designers. The next aspect of this is the value of ideas versus the value of execution on those ideas. There's this recurring thing that will happen in old episodes of Seinfeld where people will come up to Jerry and say, oh, you're a comedian, huh? Well, you should come down to where I work. There's some really funny people there, right? Or they'll say, I've got an idea for a joke. Or they'll say, people say I'm funny, I bet I could be a comedian. We recognize the fact that a situation potentially being funny doesn't automatically make it good stand-up material. And we recognize that a person potentially being funny doesn't automatically make them a comedian. It's the work that a comedian actually puts in, probably failing a couple of times along the way, many times, to actually get up on stage and make people laugh, that makes for a good comedian. In a pure numbers scenario, which do you think there's more of? People who have ideas for apps on the App Store, maybe the next big thing, or people who have actually made best-selling apps? Or even bump that down a peg, people who are even programming or coding their own apps. I'm not trying to tell you that your good ideas aren't good ideas. What I am saying, though, is that ideas by themselves really aren't worth that much. Idea guys are worth a dime a dozen. It's the actual execution of those ideas that matters. And therein lies the third aspect of this topic. Through my own experience, through talking to other people who are out there making their own character designs, on purely a workflow level, executing on the idea is the more important part. What we've generally found to be true is that the longer you allow that idea to gestate and sort of churn around in your head, becoming the ideal version of itself, before actually putting pencil to paper, the worse that character is going to either turn out to be, or the more more accurately, disappointed you're going to be that it didn't reach that mental image that you had for it. And I think this is the aspect of character design, or bringing a character to life, that we often underestimate. It's the pure mechanical nature of the process. And I think until we see that character on the page, it only half exists. I've been trying to think through if there are actual cases of people who could be character designers without drawing. All of them still have a certain amount of artistic skill associated with them. I guess someone could be a sculptor, right, without knowing how to draw, although there's very few sculptors who don't have at least some fundamental knowledge of drawing. You could be designing topiary, right? You could be using a chainsaw to create your character designs. But even still there, the amount of iteration that character design benefits from, the pencil and paper or digital equivalent, is always going to be the most efficient way to create new versions and perfect a character design. There's cases of some of the preliminary character designs of the original Incredibles film by Tony Fusilli, where he's actually used like cutout textures from magazines or photos in order to create the initial character designs. Are very graphic and blocky, but spoiler alert, Tony Fusilli is also a very good artist, so there's not much sidestepping happening there, just a different avenue he was exploring. And if you are dissatisfied with the fact that the characters you've actually created on the page never live up to your ideas of them, you're not alone. And being frustrated there is a very common experience. Oftentimes our taste, or where we'd like to be, is not where our skills actually are. But I do encourage you to continue trying to build up those drawing fundamentals. In my course, Learn Character Design, I'm actually remaking, and this is sort of me telling you that the first module of that course is going to be on drawing. The new way I'm doing things, I'm kind of splitting things up into 6 distinct modules, which if you're not able to get the whole course at once, you'll be able to get one piece at a time. And that first piece is on drawing, because that's really a foundation of character design. It's always only after I turn the camera off that I remember 6 other things that I wanted to say, but I'd love to hear what you have to say on this topic of someone being a character designer without knowing how to draw. And not even just from the aspect of like the technicalities or semantics of it, but that being a good idea, like that being a good career path for someone to pursue without the actual technical drawing skill. The time lapses you've been watching are of a few of my original characters for a banner I've been making for things like my portfolio and Twitter profile, stuff like that. I've been working really hard recently on building a new portfolio. It's been a while since I did that, and I kind of want to level up my work, what's on display, and level up the kind of clients I can get to. That's it for me today. I'm making new videos every week here on Character Design Forge. My comic Parcel Stitch in Time is currently available in the Gumroad links below. That's the first story I've been able to put out in a really long time. It's something I'm really proud of. It's not perfect, but I'm really grateful for the support you guys have shown, and I'm excited to make more like it. My Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and Patreon are all Bagel Denizen, and you can see those in a few seconds. Thank you so much for watching, and have fun creating.